Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't be some guy with a computer, some powerful oligarch with a computer punching in numbers and acting like God, which is what we have now.
Sure.
And the other thing, of course, is that if you look at reality right now, the fact of the matter is that the European countries and the United States and Australia, they have been getting more stuff from the rest of the world than they've been giving. That's just a fact. And that
right.
means
The only export they have really is financial products, which basically is just bubble money.
And weapons.
Weapons, right.
But the United States has the world's best universities still. They have a very intelligent, well-educated, hardworking population, and they have all this high tech that's being suppressed for so-called national security reasons.
Right.
So we can get these scumbags out of power in the Federal Reserve Board and free the American people. The potential for a boom such as never been seen before is right there. It's ready. But first, we have to let the old system collapse. These guys are not going to go quietly into the night. They're threatening war still. They're still trying to attack Iran. They're still threatening. I've had reports now that they're planting nuclear bombs in the seabed off the shore of Tokyo to try to create another tsunami here.
Jesus.
They're up to all sorts of nasty stuff, and we have to stop them.
Now, you've said before that one of the enforcement arms that could come into play now that you've driven the wedge with this lawsuit is the Pentagon. The good guys in the Pentagon could at some point actually do mass arrests at gunpoint of, as you've said, I believe most of the House of Representatives and the Senate, because these guys have private accounts in the Vatican Bank and they've been bribed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so you're talking about media heads of the top 5 media companies that have been controlling the media to promote this agenda.
Well,
these guys are preparing to move on that at some point, right?
That's the problem, is that they're not quite sure what to do next. There's a lot of confusion, okay, because it's sort of like it's one thing to say, all right, let's put these guys in jail, but then they say, well, now what? And there's no coherent plan in place for what's next. I mean, Keenan and his people, they have their ideas. I've got mine. Other people have their own plans they're all pushing. But what I do believe, though, is that, yes, you need to get the out-and-out criminals out of power. Okay? Put them under house arrest. You don't have to put them in jail. Like most of them, it's one of those systems. It's sort of like, I don't know if you saw the movie Scorpion King, but one of these movies where you come in to the top of the pyramid, you beat the guy in a sword fight, and you show up at the top of the stairs with the head in hand, and everybody bows down to you.
Right.
Oh, And most of these guys are used to that pyramid system,
Right.
If you change the top, it's like they automatically go along with the new program and say, well, hey, I was just following the Pharaoh,
Right.
So it could be a system where you don't even have to put anybody in jail. You just say, okay, we've changed plan now. There's a new game plan, and instead of building pyramids, now you're going to be building universities. And they'll say, okay, let's go for it. So, but having said that, there are a lot of incompetent gangsters at the highest levels of power who shouldn't be there.
Right.
They don't know how to run a country, and they don't know how to run a planet, and they don't belong in that job. And I mean Obama, among others. His record proves it.
Well, I think he's folded way too many times to the pressure groups around him.
Okay, he's a puppet. That's a fact of the matter. But the point is that what we do need is we need to have, as quick as possible, an open debate. We want to get everybody in on it. We don't want this, so that we can say, all right, what are we going to do next? It's one thing to get rid of the old system, but if you don't have anything ready in place, you end up with chaos, you end up with a loss of civilization, you end up with collapse of order. And that's one thing that we all agree we don't want. There's got to be a transition towards a better way of running the planet that's not going to destroy but build. you know?
Well, I don't mean to play devil's advocate here, but if the Asian secret societies and the non-aligned nations have put this squeeze play where, as of our interview, November 28th, there's stuff in the news saying the euro isn't even going to last 10 days, we don't have a lot of time to make those decisions. Right?
Well,
I mean,
no.
because people are going to start suffering when these collapses that you guys apparently have helped to engineer finally happen.
Well, unfortunately, because the people in power in the United States, in Washington and Wall Street, and in Europe are being very stubborn, they're sort of acting like Hitler was at the end of World War II. I'll let Germany collapse before I move from power.
Right.
Is that there is going to be a really tough winter in the United States and Europe as things stand now, because these guys are not going peacefully and quietly into the night. They're not accepting that we need a fundamental change in how we run this planet. And that is why it's going to be a tough winter unless you hurry up and get these guys out.
Well, and they're going to have incredibly powerful disinformation campaigns that will do everything they can to make you appear to be a fool, and that everything you're saying is a lie.
Sure.
And that if this group actually succeeds, that it's the New World Order and it's the Illuminati and it's fascism and martial law and FEMA camps and all the stuff that they've been trying to get people afraid of. So how do you counter that?
Well, the reality of the situation is stronger than the propaganda, okay?
Right.
I mean, they can talk all they want. It's like they say, well, now I've got a quintillion dollars. See, it's in my computer. All right, go try to spend it. See what happens, you know?
Right.
See how far you get with that. When Bush was trying to flee to Paraguay and they stopped him, okay? Let's see what happens when he takes his black card or whatever they have and goes to the store and they say, sorry, can't buy anything. These guys will be just street trash once their money is frozen, and it's being frozen.
Well, now you had said before, I mean, right now you're saying there isn't really a consensus with the Pentagon in terms of when or if to do these so-called mass arrests.
I don't know. Look, what I do know is that the Pentagon people always told me they're waiting for this lawsuit to be a trigger, okay?
Okay.
And now there's a lot of, okay, well, it's there. We understand that the system is rotten and broken, but we're not quite sure what to do next. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes negotiating and talking and running around. And as things stand, unfortunately, it looks like things are going to have to get more chaotic before these people's minds are concentrated enough that they're ready to start building new systems, new agreements to share this planet.
Right.
But the basic one that I have said as an operating principle is that Western and Asian civilization need to start out with an exactly 50-50 deal that underlines whatever it is we start building on top of the old system. We don't want suddenly, Europeans and Americans to be taking orders from Asians, and the Asians are tired of having Europeans tell them what to do. We need to have a forum where we reach a consensus. We both agree, yes, that's a good idea. Build a space colony. Okay, good idea. Let's do it.
What side would all the Islamic countries be in that 50-50?
The Islamic countries are basically with us, except for a few colonies that are still, controlled by the cultists pretending to be Muslims. Okay.
Okay.
But essentially, they're just afraid of ending up the way Gaddafi did, and so they're keeping their heads low. But they're essentially with us.
Okay.
And what we really need to do now is to get the Jewish people to realize that their leaders, a lot of them were part of an insane cult, and that they shouldn't allow those people to speak for them as a people. Because these are the same people behind the Holocaust, Right.
The atrocity is too boggling for most people's mind to even wrap around.
Exactly. That's what they were counting on. It's just too big for people to wrap their minds around.